is going to be the anterior thigh. Again, even numbered compartments are going to be anterior views, and we're on the upper leg now. The nervation for compartment number 4 is super simple. It's just going to be our femoral nerve, which comes from which three?
L2, L3,
lumbars?
L4.
L2, L3, L4. Awesome. And if you haven't checked out, we have the video up for the story about the arteries of the lower abdomen, upper thigh, right?
Yep.
So that with that video, we attached a story that goes along with it to remember the whole concept of how to remember everything that's going on in here. But for time's sake, we'll just run through them, and then you can check that out if you need to. So we start with the big canal, which was what?
Abdominal aorta express.
Abdominal aorta express, exactly. Which makes this kind of inverted C here.
Common
Common iliac,
Right.
which branches into which two arteries?
External iliac artery.
And then this dotted one going back would be internal iliac artery. Coming off of the external iliac artery, we have C and psi, which are our mnemonics to remember what?
Superficial
Epigastric artery.
Superficial circumflex iliac artery.
And we remembered in our story, C creatures go up out of the tunnel, psi creatures go down out of the tunnel. Moving along the external iliac, we came across what we called our portal in our story, which is actually what?
inguinal ligament.
Inguinal ligament, which is this green line here. Immediately after, or on the other side of the portal, was the crow's foot, which is composed of which 3 arteries?
Profunda, femoris, femoral, and the deep external pudendal artery.
Deep external pudendal artery, which also has what associated with it?
Crow's foot.
Superficial external pudendal.
Yep, so there's the deep external pudendal, and in the story that was the crow's foot that was digging into the arm, and the blood was coming up out of the arm. And the reason the blood was coming up was so we remember the superficial external pudendal, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So the other 2 feet of the crow's foot are the femoral artery, which we covered in posterior leg, right? Compartment 3, was it?
Mhm.
And then the profundus and the perforating and the circumflex. We covered all of those.
Circumcised PP.
Circumcised PP, that's right. We remember all those from the other ones. Of course, we have the anastomosis at the knee, but we've covered those multiple times now. We know from our OF said the fish number order of the bow tie we drew. We know that the femoral artery innervates 8 muscles. So those are the 8 muscles that we've included in compartment 4 are those that are innervated by the femoral nerve. Did I say artery? Did I say
Yeah,
it?
sorry.
Yeah, femoral nerve is what it meant. So the first 4 of the femoral muscles that are innervated by the femoral nerve are the 4 quads. But like we've done in our other compartments, we're going to build from the deepest layer up. So we start with the 3 vastus muscles, lateralis, intermediate, and medialis, which all insert where?
Tibial
Into this-
tuberosity via the patellar ligament.
via the patellar ligament because it's bone to bone, also via the patella. All of the quads insert into the patella, which then inserts into the tibial tuberosity via the tibial
Patellar
ligament. We've struggled over that one. So now we got the 3 vastus inserting there. The origin points for the 3 vastus were a little bit tricky, so we've had to come up with a couple ways that we're remembering these. And the most confusing part about it for us was that they have multiple origins. Some of these vastus muscles have multiple origins, and they also the lateralis and medialis also originate on the
Linea.
posterior femur at the linea aspera as well as other parts. So the trick that we're using to remember where the lateralis and medialis originate is to grab a little aspera, grab a little aspera. If you're going to grab a little ass, you're reaching around. So the little aspera, we remember little lateralis, as aspera is going to be on the back side. You have to reach around to grab it. For the medialis, we remember that both of these you grab around to the posterior side, and then the lateralis and medialis also have two origins. So to remember the second origination, on the lateralis, we remember that the greater trochanter is the most lateral aspect of the femur. Lateralis, lateral aspect of femur. The other origin is the greater trochanter. The medialis was a little bit tricky for us, so we had to kind of add in a second, little second device here, where if you're reaching around the inside of the leg, you're crossing the line. Outside might be okay, but the inside, you're maybe crossing the line a little bit. So if you reach around on the inside or the medial aspect of the vastus muscles, you're crossing the line. The line that we're crossing represents the intertrochanter line, which is the second origin of the vastus medialis.
Intercanteric.
Is it intertrochanteric line?
Intertrochanteric.
Nice. The vastus intermedius, even though it's not very well depicted on this picture, also originates at the lateral aspect of the proximal femur of it.
Yeah.
Proximal.
Anterior side.
Anterior side. Anterior lateral proximal femur. So that's kind of a little bit off to the side there. Also,
think IT band on the side. Intermediate IT band.
Yep. So it's a little bit lateral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of by the IT band.
Kind of hides it behind the lateralis.
The other two muscles that we included on this first layer of the deep muscles of compartment number 4 were going to be the two muscles that compose the iliopsoas, or the eye of IPA, which is in the femoral triangle. So the two muscles that compose the iliopsoas would be which two?
The iliacus and the psoas major.
And the psoas major. The origins for the iliacus are
Iliac fossa.
iliac fossa, and they insert
The lesser.
the lesser trochanter. And the device we use to remember where the iliopsoas inserts is going to be, you don't think lesser of somebody who drinks IPA. You don't think lesser of somebody who drinks IPA. The IPA representing, the I represent iliopsoas in the femoral triangle. But we want to clarify that. We're not going to get confused about that, because in the context of insertion, you don't think lesser of somebody who drinks IPA. It just correlates to the insertion point of the iliopsoas, which is the lesser trochanter of the femur. The origin for the psoas major is kind of a wild one. It's all over the place. But we have T12 up here with its tiny little transverse processes, and then we have L 1 through 5. So the origin for psoas major was
The vertebral bodies of T12 and L1 through 5.
Yep.
And the transverse processes of L1 through 5.
L1 through 5, and that's why we drew this toilet paper up here. This is our TP, and the TP is only on L1 through 5 because it only originates at the transverse processes of L1 through 5.
So it has two origins.
So it has two origins. It also said in the book that it originated at the intervertebral disc, right? Was that the intervertebral disc from T12 all the way down?
Yeah.
Moving on to the second layer, let's see, we covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our 8 muscles that are innervated by the femoral nerve, the deepest muscles. We added on the last 3 on level 2, just like we've done in the other compartments. So